Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hills and Hollers Homestead. I'm Mike, and today I'm going to give you a quick tour of our garden beds. Raised beds that we did because we just have way too much clay up here, and where we had tilled our first garden up here, it turned into quicksand. No matter what we did, it would just turn into a mess. So I'm going to give you a quick tour here and show you what we did. Alright, flip the camera around here. So these are corrugated metal, and this is rough cut lumber, so it's not treated lumber. The only treated lumber on these is on the outside, and it does not come in contact with the soil inside the bed. And this is just for stabilization and bracing. Okay, so these are 8 feet long. These two right here particularly are 10 feet across, 8 feet across the back side, and then it would be total 10 feet across through here. Or I'm sorry, yeah, to be 10 feet. So the way that we did it is we did U-shaped designs on these beds, and we made one mirror the other. Or you can walk in, walk back here. I've got 10 feet all the way across here. I've got 8 feet across here. Well, actually, truly, if I want to go, yeah, I've got 10 feet, 8 feet, and then 8 feet, and then turn around here, and this one done the same thing. And you really can't tell it because the peppers, geez, the pepper plants have went absolutely insane this year. So in this side here, these are, let's see if I can get back here a little bit. So these are all sweet Hungarian wax. This row back through here is hot, and all of these over here are hot Hungarian wax. This back row back here was cucumbers. That's why you got the trellis there. And then we ended up with a couple pumpkins, and these are actual pumpkin pie pumpkins. So there's what, 4 of those in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4 of those in there. So those are left. And this side over here, these turned out, we went and planted a bunch of different bell peppers this year. So there's bell peppers still coming on, still ripening, still green. Is we did just regular bells, then we did some Cajun bells, and then there's some big gems. And these big gems they're like a poblano pepper. Let me see if I can find one. Is that one right there? Nope, that's an Ajvarsky. I think the wife may have got the big gems today because she went and come down here and picked a bunch of them. So Ajvarsky is another type of bell pepper. These will get real long, and they get wide across the top, and then they'll start to turn red, and they're great stuffing bell pepper. Oh my God, they're so good. And then over here, there's some more bells, and then we get into my hot peppers, and these are called Scorpion Butch. And if you've never had a Scorpion Butch, if you don't like hot things, stay away from these. These are 1.5 million Scoville units. These are my Scotch Bonnets, and these are my mutants. This whole plant right here, I mean, I'm 6 feet tall, and that's how big this thing is. Now, of course, it's 2.5 feet up off the ground in the bed, but this thing is, as I walk around here, you'll see these are Scotch Bonnets. These are very hot as well. It's grown clear out in the middle. It's almost completely overtaken my other hot peppers, which would be these, and these are Devil's Tongues, and these are hot as well. So since we're getting an abundance, and I mean, we're still ripening peppers here. So we haven't had a frost yet. It's not been cold enough to have a frost. Close, but no cigar yet. We've even got, these are blooming. So we've even got peppers still blooming. So we'll continue to let, and with the hot peppers, what I'll do is I'll take and we'll dehydrate a bunch of those outside, of course. Put those in dehydrator outside. Don't put them in the house. If you've never been pepper sprayed, not that I'm a criminal or anything, but all my years in healthcare and working in emergency medical services, I have unintentionally and accidentally been on the receiving end of that a few times, and it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. So word of advice, when you get into the really, really hot peppers, don't dehydrate them in the house. All right, so out here on the outside of this, the jungle of peppers here, you'll see, let me show you here. Flip the camera. Okay, so you'll see this is 10 foot wide across this side here. The trellis for the cucumbers and stuff are in there. And what we did is when we built these a couple years ago, now a lot of people are going to say, oh, you got corrugated metal, it's going to degrade. It's going to corrode, and it's going to put zinc in your soil. Well, let me tell you something. Zinc in our soil is something that we need. Zinc is a mineral that we need. There has yet to be any scientific study, peer-reviewed scientific study, to show that you shouldn't use corrugated metal, galvanized corrugated metal in any type of gardening, that it's going to cause some kind of zinc poison or anything like that. Hey, I mean, here I am, still good looking and young as ever, not a gray hair on my head. And so, you know, honestly and truly, here, let's flip this around. Okay, so if zinc does leach in from the soil, or from the metal, if it leaches into the soil, you see this spot right here, if you can see that between the wet and the dry, there's a little line right there. Okay, this is lipped over, this is all white oak right here. That keeps this portion of the soil dry. If there is any transfer of zinc into the soil, I'm going to bet it's not going to come much past right there to that wet line, because once it comes, if it would by chance come past where it doesn't get wet and it gets into the wet soil where rain and where we water it and everything, it's going to go straight down. It's not going to continue to leach in this way. That's not how it works. So it's not going to leach completely in across my bed. Now, the reason we went with these is because we know the price of lumber went up crazy, and these just seem to be more, I'd seen a couple of these online and I thought this would be really good, and I hadn't read a bad review on them. They all seem to be do really good. So, you know, after conferring with my domestic supervisor, she made the executive decision and we decided to go this route. Now, the only treated lumber here is on the bottom. On the outside, like I said, it does not come in contact with the soil, and that is just for bracing and stability. The rest of this is untreated rough cut lumber. These beds are what we had used over the years, and these are treated lumber, and it's just 2 2x6s, and that's what they are. They're taller, 4 foot wide, 8 feet long, and we had lined this with plastic, and that way the soil didn't come into contact with the wood. And that was only because treated lumber, you know, you got all these chemicals and all this and arsenic and all this other stuff. Well, I guess it's been several years since they used all that kind of nasty stuff, and they just use a copper solution now, and supposedly it's completely safe. But yet I've yet to see, again, a certified peer-reviewed scientific study to say that nothing leaches in. So again, just for safety's sake, we did use it. But of course, after years and years of use, moisture does get between the plastic and the wood, and it did decay and start to degrade the wood. So we'd actually pulled all of these up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the big 4x8s, and then a couple smaller ones, and we had them stacked up and was going to burn them. And then of course the pandemic hit, and we built 4 more of the beds. You'll see these down through here. These are 4x8 beds. Then what we call the singles. We built 4 more of those, and then decided, what the hey, we'll go ahead and pull these back out of retirement and use them this year. And we did like spaghetti squash and zucchini in this bed. We did melons in this bed, and in these 2 beds right here, we did corn, and we did 2 different types of corn. One was peaches and cream, and I think the other was butter and cream or something like that. And yes, and we have in the past, you can grow corn in raised beds. It does not have to be 6 feet deep. They do not have to be that tall. And we harvested and have eaten corn, and we've harvested and stored corn from these beds. So it's not a big deal. You can grow corn in raised beds. But next year, these are going to come out of here. We've already decided what we're going to do. And if you come over here, these are our tomato beds. And of course, tomatoes are pretty much done for the year. So we're not trying to salvage these. These are simple 4x8 beds, 8 feet long, 4 feet across. Again, rough lumber posts, and then the treated 2x6 on the bottom, or 2x8s, I think those are. Next year we're going to pull these out of here, and I'm probably going to do 4 more beds of the 4x8s there and there and there and there. And we've got a slope here. I'm not worried about trying to fill this in, making this all level, making this all pretty. It's West Virginia. If you want something flat, you're in the wrong state. So you can see these beds even set at a little bit of an angle. That'll help just they'll look more natural, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. So if you're more aesthetically pleasing to something that goes with the terrain and the slope, that's how these are going to look. Hey, you know what? They're going to be growing food for my family. I don't care. So do 4 more beds here. These will come out of here. Do 4 more of these 4x8 metal beds, corrugated metal beds. And that's how these are. And these were both of our tomato beds this year. That's how we did these. And we still got some tomatoes coming on. I mean, they're still... So they're still, let's see. Still pretty, ooh. That one's a little tart. So I'll say probably not. I'd say they're done for the year. Where they're usually really good. I think those end of the year ones are kind of mad. All right, so this bed over here, this is another 4x8 single bed. And we did cabbage. And I don't like to use, well, I don't say me. We don't like to use chemicals. We don't like to use even something like 7 Dust. We get exposed to enough stuff in our everyday lives, in our consumer driven products that we do buy and eat. We don't need more exposure. And unfortunately this year, once our cabbage finally did come on, they were doing great. We were very happy. And before we knew it, the bugs were on it. We thought we might have been able to avoid a lot of it this year. But the bugs were on it, and I ordered row crop covers. And if you've not seen those, it's like a sheer, stretchy material that you can put over top of your produce, and it keeps the bugs from getting in. It lets the light in, it lets water in, and by the time I got them, it was too late. The bugs had done their damage. So, lesson learned. Next year, row crop cover goes on it from the get-go. This bed here is another single that we did a bunch of beets in. I think we actually did 2 rounds of beets in this, and we've done carrots, and then we did some green onions. These were just a couple smaller leftovers that we pulled out, and we had some leftover dirt and everything this year, so we decided, hell, what the heck, we'll go ahead and use those. So we did these. We did the tomatoes here and some tomatoes here, and I'm not going to taste test these because that last one was pretty rough. But yeah, they're still growing, they're still producing, but like I said, I haven't taste tested, and I'm not going to right now. But these will come out of here, and there'll be 1 more of the 4x8 beds go right here. All right, now these 2 beds, these were sweet potatoes, these were red potatoes, and then after we took the red potatoes out, we put lettuce in there. And of course we couldn't keep up with the lettuce. I mean, we couldn't eat near as fast as it was growing. Of course, it's already bolted and everything else, so it's done for the year. This one was another 4x8 that we put down here, and we put bush beans in here, and they were doing great. They were doing fantastic. We even put a little bit of a temporary fence up around it. But one of our boxers, who is a significant lover of all things vegetables and fruits, yeah, well, he loves green beans, let me tell you. So that bed went defunct this year. All right, so now why am I doing this? Why am I telling you all this? All right, so if I put another bed here, so these are 4 foot wide, there's 2 foot space between them, okay? That gives you plenty of room to get between them. So if I put another bed here that next year, 4 foot, 2 foot space, 10 foot, 14, 16, 20, 22, 30, 32, 38, 40, 50 feet. 10 feet across, if you would opt to go 10 feet across. Otherwise, you could go 8 feet across. In that area, in an 8 to 10 foot wide by 50 feet long, look what you can grow. Of course, this tomatoes are at the end of their season, so don't pay attention to the scraggly, nasty, dead looking stuff. There you go. Now, why am I bringing this up? All right, and then there's 2 other, of course, there's other 2 beds over there. Now, if I add to that, I've only got 10 feet of width here, all the way across here. It's only 10 feet. Now, I can take one end of this, keep a 2 foot path through here, and add 2 rows of beds, 4 foot wide. So that'd be 16, 18 feet additional to that, with a 2 foot walkway in between. Or no, I take that back. I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. 14 feet. So you got 2 feet walkway, 4 feet of bed, that's 6 feet. 2 feet walkway, 8 feet. 4 foot of bed. Where am I at? 12 feet. There you go. Math in my head. I'm too old for that anymore. So anyways, the whole point of this is you do not need a gigantic area to grow your own food. You don't need acres upon acres of land to grow a garden, to raise food for yourself and for your family. We're a family of 4. And this, by the way, horseradish, all this is. So this is all horseradish. Well, this isn't. That is. So that's horseradish. All right, so back to that. You don't need tons and tons and tons of space. You don't need, like I said, here's 50 feet wide or 50 feet long. So if you've got an area in your yard where you've got 50 feet of length and you can get 8 or 10 foot of width, what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on? Why would you want to continue to be a professional consumer? Because it's easier? You really? Is it easier? Is it easier to work a 40+ hour week and then turn around every other week or once a month and go to the store and spend $200, $300, $400 of your hard-earned money that you just spent all that time working to get? Or is it easier to put a little bit of extra effort up front at the beginning of the season, build you a few beds, and you don't have to build them all at once. You could just build 2 beds, build 4 beds, 2 to 4 beds. And you're looking at, I think each sheet of this, so if a 2.5 wide by 8 foot sheet of this corrugated metal is $14. I think at the last price check, it was $14. You find a local sawmill, have them cut you some 4x4s, just untreated, raw lumber, and have them treat you, or cut you some 1x6s or even some 1x4s to cap the top of your beds with, so you don't get that sharp metal edge. That's what I hadn't done on the smaller ones. Didn't even bother this year. We just went straight to plant. We figured if we cut ourselves, it's just hazards at the shop. So, you put that little extra effort up front, and so I'm gonna put it to you this way: if all things go to hell next spring, and there's food shortages, or you're standing in line to get into the local grocery store, and they're limiting what you can get, we're going to be planting seeds. We're going to be planting peppers again. We're going to be planting tomatoes and potatoes, and we're going to be planting corn and melons. And I'm going to wait a little longer. I'm not going to have the convenience that I choose not to have that convenience of going to the grocery store and spending my hard-earned money. I'm going to put a little bit of sweat equity up front, a little extra money up front. I can probably tell you what, everything that we've got in these beds in material, in all of these beds, all of the metal beds, I probably spend more in 3 months of grocery shopping than I've got in this entire garden setup. Now that's not minus the compost and stuff that I got in top of it. That's minus the compost and stuff that we ended up having to buy at the local greenhouse. But everything else, other than a compost on the top layer, everything else is harvested right here from the property. And like I said, it's just punky rotten wood and a bunch of composted grass clippings and a bunch of composted chicken manure. So it's not difficult. Please don't think that any part of this, okay, I'll stop myself again. Yes, you're going to work. Yes, you're probably going to sweat a little bit doing this. Your back might hurt a little bit after a couple of days of doing this kind of stuff. But the end result is this. I'm completely engulfed in plants. Look at these beds. Who has ever heard of having to stake your pepper plants? The first year we've ever had to do it. These things went absolutely crazy this year. Never seen pepper plants grow like these did. And these are appropriately spaced apart as per, the planting guides. So they just went nuts. And look, here we are, end of October in West Virginia. Oh, what are we, region 6B, I think, is where we're at. Growing region 6B, or whatever they refer to that as. And I've still got peppers. I've got peppers for days. Still got tomatoes coming on. I'd eat them if I had to, I guess. Or salt them up and do them right. But again, just food. And it's food that I know we put the work into this. There's no chemicals in this. We know that because we're the ones that tended these. So you know, that's it. That's all I really wanted to touch on today. Is I don't want to scare people away from this and make you think that you have, you know, you're going to have to do massive amounts of work and all this other stuff. My 4-year-old and 7-year-old are fighting. It's like the old lumberjack matches on wrestling is what they're doing. But don't think it's something that you can't do. Like I said, you can do this. This is not hard. Yes, you're going to sweat a little bit. Your back's going to ache a little bit here and there. But in the end, you're going to harvest. And you're going to get so tired of harvesting, you're going to smile because you know it's there. So do the right thing. I'm going to have to go up here and stop my kids from killing each other before my wife does. Do yourself a favor. Get to work. It's not hard. Guys, hit the like and subscribe button, please. Give me a good old thumbs up. Help this channel grow. Help us reach more people so we can get more how-to stuff on out here and more informative videos to help people get in this lifestyle and get you. Let's cut that consumer cord as much as we possibly can. All right. Have a great one, guys. Take care.